I remember the sounds first, the shuffle of expensive shoes on marble, the soft clearing of greedy throats, and the steady tick of my uncle's old grandfather clock. He wound that thing every night, saying, "A quiet house should at least have time." We were all gathered in his study for the reading of his will. His death still hung in the air, thick and heavy like cigar smoke. My parents sat in the front row, holding hands like actors in a play about grief. 15 years had passed since I'd seen them, and now they were back, drawn in by the smell of money. They didn't even glance my way when I entered. My father adjusted his cufflinks instead. My mother gave me that same hollow, fake smile she wore the day she left me at 13, saying, "It's better this way, darling." I used to wonder, better for who? The lawyer started reading, his voice calm and practiced. He went over the charities, the staff payments, the estate details. My uncle had left behind a fortune, more than anyone expected, with every number he mentioned. My parents leaned in closer, my mother's hand trembling ever so slightly on her handbag. Then came the line that froze the room. "To my nephew, whom I raised as my own, I leave the estate, assets, and all holdings to his parents who left him behind. I leave the memory of what they abandoned." Silence. My mother's breath caught. My father's hand gripped the chair tight. Every eye turned to me. I didn't move. I waited 15 long years for that moment. My uncle took me in when I was 13. The day after my parents left for a business trip and never came back. I still remember sitting on the curb with one small suitcase, watching their car disappear down the street. When my uncle found me, he didn't ask a single question. He just opened his door, handed me a sandwich, and said, "People show who they are not in what they say, but in how they leave." From that day on, he raised me as his own. He taught me discipline, focus, and the value of silence. I studied law, finance, and the art of self-control because emotions were a luxury I couldn't afford. When I turned 28, my parents suddenly reappeared. Not with apologies, but with smiles and charms. Suddenly, I was their beloved son again. They called often, visited even more. My mother would squeeze my hand and say, "Family is everything, sweetheart." My father would go on about legacy. I knew what they were doing, planting seeds, setting the stage for the inheritance they thought was theirs. I watched them perform. I listened. I pretended. Then, 2 years before my uncle died, I found out the truth. One late night, I saw an email left open on my father's tablet. Their names, their plan. They'd been contacting my uncle's lawyer asking about his health, pushing for a succession plan. My father even offered to advise on the estate, which really meant taking control. They weren't back for me. They never were. That night, I poured myself a drink and stared at my reflection in the glass. I didn't get angry. I calculated if they wanted to play games with the will, then I'd be the one to write their ending. First, I made sure the lawyer knew everything. I showed him the emails, the messages, the money transfers they'd sent to his assistant to speed things up. It wasn't quite illegal, but it was shady enough to make him cautious. Then I earned my uncle's complete trust, not by pretending, but by being honest. I told him everything they'd done. He didn't say much at first, just leaned back and sighed before saying, "Then let's make this official." Quietly, we redrafted the will. One sealed copy went to his lawyer, another stayed locked in my study. My uncle only had one request, that the reveal happen naturally, during the reading. "They need to hear it from my voice," he said with a small, knowing smile. He passed away 6 months later. Peacefully, more peacefully than those who came after him, that's for sure. Back in the study, my father shot to his feet, voice trembling. "This must be a mistake." He shouted. "We took care of him." The lawyer interrupted firmly. "Everything is documented. Mr. Hale, your intentions, your messages, your financial transfers." My mother's eyes darted toward me. "You told him," she demanded. I met her stare. "He deserved to know the truth." She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You think this makes you noble? He used you, no?" I said quietly. "He taught me." The lawyer cleared his throat. "There's one final note." He unfolded a page and read aloud to the boy they left behind. "May he never forget that sometimes family isn't blood, it's choice." Silence filled the room. Even the clock seemed to stop. Afterward, they followed me outside. My father's mask finally cracked. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "You can't erase us." I looked at him. Really looked. The same man who once drove off without a glance back. "I already did," I said. They left the same way they had 15 years before, together. Empty-handed. Walking off into the distance like ghosts fading into the dark. I stood by the iron gates, watching the lawyer's car drive away. Behind me, the house, my house now, stood quiet and heavy with memories. I didn't feel guilt or pride, just peace. Some debts aren't paid in money, they're paid in time.